my first spiritual awakening experience while reading the book The Power of Now and How I Live My Life After Awakening. I will tell you in a moment my first spiritual awakening experience in detail, and most importantly, how that awakening happened due to intense suffering. Please be with me. Now, I have lived my past life as a real estate entrepreneur in Dubai, Singapore, Mumbai, and Malaysia. But I was born in extreme poverty in India. Because of my poor childhood and growing up struggling even to meet the basic necessities of life, my ego was conditioned to feel scarcity and fear regarding the money. Hence, my ego pushed me to work hard in the world to become somebody and achieve this or that. In 2008, I was absolutely miserable and not sleeping well for 3 months or so, as my real estate company was going down due to financial recession after years of my efforts. My mind was creating horror stories of the destruction of my business. I still remember, one after another horror stories, and I had no peace. Now here is the moment that changed my life forever. During that intense suffering, I experienced my first spiritual awakening while reading page 53 in the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I think that was in August 2008 during the financial recession in Dubai, UAE. Page 53. Let me show you. This was this page. Can you see that? Here. I say, wow. Now see the condition of my book. Amazing, right? For 15 years I have this book. I still remember my thinking stop while reading this sentence in this book. Focus your attention on the now and tell me what problem you have at this moment. And this book says further, I am not getting any answer because it is impossible to have a problem when your attention is fully in the now. While reading this, at first I thought this book's author is crazy. Because I had hundreds of problems in my life, and my ego believed that the worst problem is I was about to lose my business and all the material possessions that I had worked so hard for years to accumulate. This is not a big problem. It's a huge problem. And this author is saying, what problem you have? Now I'm about to lose all my egoic possessions. But then I reread the passage again. As I read that passage with intense attention, my mind suddenly stopped. No thoughts, just still silent, and all thoughts disappeared. My identification with my problems, with money issues, broken one by one in that moment. One by one broken. As if all the tension string attached to my mind, the string attached to my mind, which caused me misery, are broken. And I experienced pure awareness once my awareness got released with the identification with my mental forms, my thoughts. I felt that I was again born. I born again, literally. I felt so light. I started to cry like a child. I still remember. How that magical awakening experience took place. During that awakening moment, I went into another room where my wife my wife was watching TV, and I invited her to dance. I started to cry like a child after I finished dancing with my wife. I still remember. My wife was a bit confused about seeing me like that. She told me later that she thought I went crazy, literally. Now, after that awakening experience, my business and wealth eventually got destroyed due to financial recession. And it was indeed a learning experience. But now I can say that I lost everything, but I gained my life. I gained my life in 2008. The next day, I handed over my ego's favorite car's key to my wife and asked her to drive. Now, my wife was 100% confirmed that I went crazy. Why would I give her my favorite car to drive? And our way, I was observing trees on the roads with absolute stillness, lying sideways on the on the side seat like a child, like this. I never watched nature like this, as it was a waste of time for me in my normal state. Usually, in my normal state, I was even scared to sit in a car when my wife was driving. Let me tell you the truth. I was very scared. But on that day, I never felt any fear. I still remember. I can say that I never had a fear of death on that day. I never had a fear of losing anything on that day. The divine peace engulfed me on that day. Now, when I went into my office and started speaking to my people, I felt their feelings by listening to them. As if I can sense what people are feeling. I absolutely felt one with them as if we are not separate. I never felt anything like that. During those awakening days, I never had any expectation from my employees. And I want to care for them. I want to listen to them. I want to understand their pain. Now, after my awakening in 2008, I had a strong realization that chasing material success is empty and meaningless. I can still function in the world, although I realize that nothing I, I will ever achieve could possibly add anything to my being, my inner being. Those days were magical days. Whenever I used to interact with people, I was not interacting with their past behavior or images or memories. I was absolutely present. I'm talking in the past tense. My ordinary consciousness soon took over, and from that moment, my awakening is intensifying slowly. After awakening, I encountered the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul is a long, depressing, very dark experience that can continue for days, months, or even years. After my initial awakening phase, the spiritual awakening was not always a joyful process for me, to be very frank. Often I felt confused, frustrated, angry, sad, grieving, or out of place. It felt like the end of my known world with its old habits and conditioning. Whatever life I had built on a competing, achieving, and acquiring mentality was not resonating with me anymore. Life was making no sense to me. Whatever resonated with me before awakening was not resonating with me anymore. Actually, for me, the spiritual awakening was an intense experience of personal transformation. I transformed from mind consciousness to being consciousness, from mind to being. But despite how much suffering my dying mind's conditioning was causing me deep in my being, I was aware that I was not going insane. I was evolving and in the process of going towards an enduring awakening from a non-enduring awakening. I discuss enduring and non-enduring awakening in this video. You can see that above. So if you are experiencing the dark night of the soul, you are feeling a sense of being lost. Your heart is in anxiety, as if your world with its known habits and conditioning is coming to an end. This is because after a spiritual awakening, your conditioned mind pattern is dying. Your ego is dying, and while dying, your mind is making you feel miserable by identifying yourself with its old dysfunctional patterns. Now, after the dark night of the soul, my inner being shined like a sun. Actually, it was always shining, but I was not feeling it. And deep down, I started to feel its presence. I felt like a spiritual awakening is a process of rebirth of everything you are. In the dark night of the soul, I felt is the process of dying of everything you are not. Later in life, I applied the same surrender principles to my physical pains. For lower brain tumor surgery, I had a surgery. I surrendered. I surrendered towards my intense chronic back pain, and I recovered fully from chronic back pain. For the last 8 years, I left my real estate business. The realization of being within me is steady and peaceful for the last 5 years. Slowly, I left the path of competitiveness. But truth to be told, before 2018, my mind sometimes succeeded to clutch me in the grip of ego because I was passing through non-enduring awakening. Especially for a few days, I felt again like achieving this or that. I feel incomplete. Then one day in April 2018, I cried a lot at night as my mind made me suffer with the thoughts of past achievement. In that moment, I totally surrendered. I prayed, God, make me your own, do as you will, use me for your purpose. And this is my prayer all the time. I still remember my body was shaking and trembling with fear that night. In a few minutes, I slept. I woke up in the morning with no thoughts, no mind. And then for the next 1 year, Ramana Maharshi Teachings come in my life. I read everything about Ramana Maharshi while resting in my being. What Ramana Maharshi instructed to attain awakening and realizing your being, what he calls self, capital S, was both esoteric and simple. I devoted myself to practice of realizing being 24/7. Intending to teach this spiritual practice of resting and abiding in being, I started giving one-to-one spiritual counseling. In counseling, I taught this one powerful practice to my students. Only this one thing only. How to rest and abide in being. Over the last year, I have counseled so many spiritual students and new identity emerged. I become a spiritual guide. Suddenly. But I completely surrendered to my being. Completely surrendered my mind to being. My purpose is to bring awareness in the world. Now see, once you are awake, ego will try to delay it by making you extremely fearful, but you need to have courage to rest in your being. If being word don't resonate with you, you can call it God, Atma, kingdom of heaven, spirit, universe, whatever you like to call it. But you need to go inward and surrender. Surrender your mind going inward. Every day you have to come back to present moment and out of your mind and emotions and out of your mind and emotions again and again. You need to make this choice hundreds of times in a day. And once you rest your mind in being, it will intensify your awakening and let you stay awake. I'll be really glad to know and learn from your first awakening experience. If you are willing to share below the comment, please share your first awakening experience below in the comment. Thank you. Thank you so much.